Good evening, aspirants. Welcome to daily newspaper analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 18th March 2025. So these are the four important topics we are going to discuss in this video. The first one is about DEN-D1B gene. It is about the genes which are responsible for causing obesity in Labrador dogs and humans. The second topic is about isolationism. It deals with the isolationism policy of USA and India. The third one is public health education in India. The fourth topic is about Race in a Dialogue, which is going to happen this month. So these are the four important topics we are going to discuss in the prelims exam perspective. Now let us get into the discussion. Now look at this article. A recent research from the University of Cambridge has found that a gene called DEN-D1B plays an important role in causing obesity. So this gene plays an important role in causing obesity in both Labrador dogs and also in humans. So in this context, we are going to discuss about this DEN-D1B gene. This gene is part of our DNA and has been found to affect how our body controls the hunger and also how our body stores the fat. So this gene was found both in Labrador dogs and also in humans. It is also linked to higher body weight and obesity in both the Labrador dogs and humans. Now let us discuss the important findings of this obesity genes. So researchers have studied 5 genes which are linked to the obesity, and this particular DEN-D1B gene is most likely linked to the obesity in humans. It is also strongly linked to the body weight and obesity, especially in Labrador dogs. Now how does this gene work? This gene affects a part of our brain which helps to control the appetite. Normally the part of brain helps to balance hunger and how much energy we burn. But this gene, if it get messed up, which means if it get mutated, we might feel hungry more often and store more fat than usual. So this leads to increased obesity and body weight in some individual compared to others. So the mutation of this gene leads to obesity and body weight. For example, the dogs with the mutation of these genes have 8% more body fat than the dogs without the mutation of these genes. Also know that obesity is not just about the mutation of the genes, it is a mix of genetic factors and also the environmental factors. So the food we eat and how active we are determines obesity, which is also played by the mutation of these genes. Now look at this prelims practice question. What is the primary role of DEN-D1B gene in relation to obesity? The correct answer is option B. It interferes with the brain signaling related to appetite, which leads to increased obesity. So the correct answer is option B. With this, let us move on to the next news article. In this discussion, we are going to see about the concept of isolationism in global politics. See, US is going towards isolationism. We can see this from US involvement in NATO and its allies. So this is an important opportunity for India because when a third world country or a developing country follows isolationism, it is very harmful for the country because sometimes it may lead to the trade tariffs and protectionist policies which falls on the isolationist country. The political relations with other countries will also get severed. But when a superpower or a major developed country follows isolationism, it is an opportunity for third world country to seize the vacuum of power. So this is an opportunity for India because US following an isolationist policy is an opportunity for India. So in this context, we are going to discuss about this isolationism in geopolitics. First of all, what is isolationism? Isolationism is a foreign policy approach, which means a country focus on avoiding alliances and also minimize the involvement in international conflict. This isolationism has roots in geopolitics with leaders like George Washington advocating for non-intervention in European affairs. So George Washington has decided to not interfere in the European countries' affairs, and it is also seen as a complete withdrawal from global issues. Sometimes isolationism is often involved with selective engagement, such as having only trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchanges, and not much involvement in other countries' affairs. Looking at the historical context of isolationism, in 19th century, the US adopted a policy of limited engagement. It focused on the domestic growth and expansion within the Western Hemisphere. After World War I, the isolationism gained popularity due to the heavy cost of the war. So this led to the Neutrality Act of 1930. And USA was following isolationism from World War I until the World War II, when Japan attacked the Pearl Harbor in 1941. So this ended the US isolationist policy, and US decided to involve in the Second World War. And also during the Cold War, the isolationism became a term which is used to criticize who opposed the military intervention or alliance. As I said earlier, if a major country or a developed country, a superpower country following isolationism, is an opportunity for developing countries to expand their power. An alternative to isolationism is a concept of restraint, which means using more strategic approach to international engagement. A restraint also means prioritizing the national interest. This concept of restraint focuses on working with allies and also recognizing the limits of a country's power. So this concept offers a balanced middle path between complete disengagement and aggressive involvement. So restraint is a middle path between this disengagement and aggressiveness. If we look at India's foreign policy, we have followed a non-alignment policy, and it emphasized on the independence in decision making. Unlike isolationism, India practices multi-alignment, which means engagement with multiple countries to maximize the benefits. Now let us compare the foreign policy between US and India's approach. US has historically goes between interventionism and isolationism. Sometimes they involve in the World War and sometimes they follow isolationism. But they always remain economically connected to the world. India, on the other hand, avoids the binding alliances and also building strategic partnership. So this balances a protectionist policy and also involvement in the global markets. An important difference between India's isolationism and US one is pulling back from the commitments, while India's approach emphasizes global engagement without entanglement. So India's isolationism is more of a positive one with some engagement. Now look at this prelims practice question. What does the term isolationism refers to in terms of US foreign policy? The correct answer is option B, avoiding entangling alliances and minimizing international conflicts. So with this, let us conclude the discussion. In this discussion, we are going to see about the public health education in India. Now the reason for discussing this is, recently there is a news about US withdrawal from WHO and USAID. So this withdrawal of US has created a reduction of funds for global public health. See, global public health infrastructure is a very important one, and we have witnessed it during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the importance of specialized public health workforce is a very essential one. But the recent withdrawal of US from this department has created many impacts on the global public health. So in this context, we are going to discuss about the public health education in India, how it has evolved in India. The public health education started during the colonial era, and it was initially part of a medical teaching. An important milestone was reached with the establishment of All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health in Kolkata, and this was established in the year 1932. Before 2000, the public health specialist mainly came from the community medicine field, and also there are only few experts in this field in India. So because of this, many Indians chose to pursue their Master of Public Health foreign countries because there were only limited options in the India. But after 2000, the situation has changed dramatically. Number of institutions who are offering the Master of Public Health courses are increased significantly in India. So this growth coincided with the launch of National Rural Health Mission in 2005. So this launching of this National Rural Health Mission has created more public health opportunities across the country. In addition to this, Article 47 of Indian Constitution emphasizes the government's responsibility to improve the public health. So this has also helped to reinforce the importance of public health education. Recently, the COVID-19 pandemic also highlighted the urgent need for specialized public health professionals. Now, now if you look at the global reductions in international aid for public health, India has a resilient public health system compared to other countries. Even though this is a positive development for India, there are several challenges which remain in the public health education. Firstly, the significant supply-demand mismatch. The number of MPH programs, that is Master of Public Health program, have increased rapidly, but the number of available public health positions do not keep up. So this has created an intense competition for limited job opportunities. There are only limited MPH vacancies, but there are many people who are pursuing this MPH, that is Master of Public Health. In addition to this, the government recruitment in public health has also slowed down. The private sector also prioritize other specialization instead of public health. So the private sector is also not hiring many public health specialists. The government is also not recruiting enough public health specialists. So this has created supply-demand mismatch. There are many people ready to pursue this public health, but there are limited job opportunities. So this is an important challenge in India. Another important challenge is the quality of education. The Ministry of Health has set a framework for this public health education, but there are a lack of standardized curriculum and clear outcome measures. There is also lack of uniformity among the public health education institutions. In addition to this, many MPH programs do not provide enough practical learning opportunities. So the faculties lack the real world experience. There is also absence of a dedicated regulatory body for this MPH training. So this results in difference in quality of education offered by different institutions across India. So these are the important challenges in pursuing the public health education in India. In addition to this, the funding constraint is also another challenge. The international aid was reduced recently, and institutions which relies on the external funding are heavily affected. In addition to this, the national funding for research and health development remains very low. The global funding is also reduced and the national funding is also not keeping up. So this has created a funding constraint for the public health institutions. The next important challenge is geographical disparities. See, many undeserved and remote areas lack the access to quality public health education. So this creates unequal opportunities for aspiring professionals. Now look at this prelims practice question. What is a major challenge in India's public health education system? The correct answer is option C, supply-demand mismatch. With this, let us conclude the discussion and move to the next topic. The 10th edition of Raisina Dialogue is going to happen from March 17 to March 19 this month. So it will happen in New Delhi. And in this context, let us discuss the basics of Raisina Dialogue, why it was started, and what was its purpose, and all the basics about this Raisina Dialogue. Note that this Raisina Dialogue is India's main conference on global politics and economics. The aim of this event is to bring together the leaders and experts around the world to discuss important global issues. It was started in 2016 by Indian Ministry of External Affairs, and this is a major platform for international dialogue for India. The theme of 2025 Raisina Dialogue is Kala Chakra, People, Peace and Planet. This means it is focusing on the connection between the people, peace and the environment. There are 6 areas of discussion in this Raisina Dialogue, and it is about the urgent global challenges. Raisina Dialogue is similar to Munich Security Conference and Singapore Shangri-La Dialogue. These conferences also discuss the global security and politics. Now let us discuss the important issues going to be discussed in this year Raisina Dialogue. The first one is Ukraine conflict and US-Russia relations. The presence of Ukraine's foreign minister and US Director of National Intelligence indicates that there will be talks about the Ukraine war in this conference. The leaders will also discuss about the ceasefire agreement and the changing global alliance regarding the Ukraine war. The next topic which will be discussed is the Trump's policy shift. There will be debates on how the foreign policies of US President, especially regarding the trade, NATO and Indo-Pacific region, have affected the world. Recently, there is a shift in Trump's policies, and this have affected the regionalism and also the alliances in NATO and Indo-Pacific region. The next important issue is Quad and Indo-Pacific strategy. There is a panel made up of naval leaders from India, Australia, Japan and US going to be discussed in this Raisina Dialogue. They might discuss to strengthen the maritime cooperation and India's role in countering China's growing influence in Indo-Pacific. So the Quad and Indo-Pacific strategy will also be discussed in this year Raisina dialogue. The next important topic which will be discussed is nuclear and security concern. The head of International Atomic Energy Agency, that is IAEA, will also be part of this discussion, and this indicates that there will be discussion about nuclear non-proliferation and also about the ongoing issue with Iran's nuclear program. So Ukraine conflict, Trump's foreign policy shift, Quad and Indo-Pacific region, and the nuclear and security concern. These are the important topics which will be discussed in this Raisina dialogue. Pakistan usually didn't participate in Raisina dialogue because of ongoing tensions with India. So this reflects India's policy of limited engagement with Pakistan. Russia's foreign minister is also not attending this year Raisina dialogue. This shows a shift in global diplomatic situation. This is especially related to the ongoing talks on Ukraine war. China also has a minimal involvement or representation in Raisina dialogue. So this is all about the discussion. The Raisina dialogue will discuss the important global issues including the recent conflicts and wars, international relations, security, and strategies for peace. Now let us discuss a prelims practice question. Which of the following ministry organizes the Raisina dialogue? The correct answer is option B, Ministry of External Affairs. This is because the Raisina dialogue is related to the global issues and discussion of the world leaders, and this is obviously organized by Ministry of External Affairs. With this, we have come to the end of the discussion. If you like the video, please share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.